X-Funk Carter here, and now I want to talk about decoration. So I I'm not a video game industry artist, but I do have a sense of decoration. I'm competent at it. In particular, I know how to create functional things. I understand architecture and machinery and all these kind of things. If you wanted to do something more, I don't know, stylish or organic, I might not be the best guy, but I do have a sense. I understand lighting for sure. There are two concepts that I want to focus on. One is whether a level is alive or dead. The other thing I want to talk about, and the other concept, is the concept of the palette, and the palette relates to this. So what I mean by a dead level is a level which looks icy, it looks generic, it looks geometrical, These kind of sharp lines, people call it blocky. There's no harmony. The materials don't blend in to each other. It's true that walls are geometrical shapes, but somehow walls in the real world don't look sharp and precise like they are in this level here. Something happens to them that, and you don't exactly know what it is, but it doesn't. This level looks like it's made out of parts, but a real world doesn't look that way. It looks like it's one great big mass that somehow flows into itself. The walls flow into the ceiling, the props seem to belong, and so on and so forth. You can't put your finger on it, but you just know that an environment is real when it feels real when you see it. You just somehow know. So now let's talk about the palette. The palette, you need to have a sense of palette, because a palette is, for those of you who don't know, palette classically is the piece of wood that a visual artist puts his colors and paints and mixes his paints on. And, that series of colors that he or she creates is the palette. The palette is made of materials, props, lighting styles, and sound. Those are the things. And in an Alien Swarm level, there's a palette as well. You're all familiar with the classic Alien Swarm palette. It's really heavily influenced by the Aliens series of movies. Not that Alien Swarm is officially part of that series or franchise, but it's dark, smoky. There's lots of metal girders and gratings and railings, and you're in abandoned factories or sewers or that kind of thing, right? So if you look at the palette of my own campaign, Mission 1 was done kind of in a classical Alien Swarm palette, and as I moved through the missions, I built them in the order 1, 3, 4, 5, and then 2. If you follow that series, you can see there's a transition in the palette from a classic Alien Swarm down into kind of a ruined Earth. And then when Mission 2 was, I built that mission, and I was trying to create a sense of the outer world where the war against the bugs was going on, And so, what I'm saying is, as you're creating your missions, you're defining a palette as well, if you're doing something new. So, but palette is also a choice of the materials and assets that you use. And then, of course, one of the reasons why you create a palette, aside from trying to create a visual consistency, because it reduces the graphics burden. If you put in like all kinds of different materials in your level, that's more texture memory is going to be used up. So let's start. And in the remaining talk, as I talk about decoration, I'm going to constantly be referring back to the palette, the sense of whether things belong in the palette or in the world.